We've heard from the reporters of various sessions what was discussed, already a clear mission which has been outlined with them, and we now look forward to the way forward from the leaders of the organization who are leading and representing APrIGF, and these views are going to be further pronounced in the global community. As we start this session, we are extremely delighted to have Professor S.V. Raghavan, Scientific Secretary, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, joining us in this session as our guest of honor. And I would like to request Mr. Rajesh Charya, the President of APrIGF, to kindly escort him here on the dais. And let's all welcome him joining us in this session. Inviting Dr. Govind, the CEO of NICSE, the co-host of this entire APrIGF, and we've been having extensive discussions towards making internet more open, at the same time democratic and representative. Inviting Mr. Paul Wilson, the chair of the multi-stakeholder group and DG of APNIC. May I now invite Mr. Ram Mohan, Board of Directors, ICANN. And Mr. Edmund Chung, Head Secretariat of APrIGF. Now, before I invite Mr. Edmund Chung, I think we all put our hands together congratulating each one of them for the excellent APrIGF which we have had. We congratulate them and thank them for giving us this platform. Thank you. So may I now request Mr. Edmund Chung, the Head Secretariat of APrIGF, to present the closing remarks for the session.
Thank you, Dr. Bajaj, Ram, Professor Raghavan, Paul, Dr. Govind, and President Rajesh. It is actually my pleasure and our pleasure and honor from .Asia to serve as the Secretariat for the Asia-Pacific Regional IGF. We are continued to be committed to continue to support the event. And first of all, I'd like to thank the gracious host, APrIGF and NICSE, for their great job for putting this event together, and especially like to thank the team that that actually put this together. And please join me in a round of applause for Natasha and her team and the many volunteers. So, and also, of course, without the strong support from the sponsors, it would be this event would not be possible. So our very much gratitude to affiliates, NSRC, Internet Society, APNIC, Cisco, Google, ICANN, Tata Communications, NetNod, STPI, PCH, and a special thanks to Government of Maharashtra. So this year has been as you heard from the rapporteurs, the content has spanned a very strong set of areas, including access, security, human rights, internet ecosystems. We touched on hot topics, including the IANA transition, IDNs, Net Mundial, and the upcoming WSIS Plus 10. And I think the content of the APrIGF, I'm very glad to report that it is getting stronger. This year is the first time we are fully integrating the Youth IGF into the program, and it's really nice to hear from the group and also getting a lot of good feedback from it. Also, this is the first year we have integrated the APILP, especially as kind of a day zero introduction to the discussions we have. We're very excited about it, and hopefully we can continue to see this develop. And I think as a Secretariat, we see this really as a continuing dialogue, and we hope to be able to support the event for continued improvements in participation and interactivity into the years ahead as well. This year, of course, has already been, we've already seen a number of landmark events for the Internet governance, Net Mundial, the convening of Net Mundial, the US government announcements, and I guess as we look forward to much anticipated landmark events for Internet governance ahead in the next year, we'd like to continue to commit to work very hard with every one of you, participation in this platform as APrIGF, to produce an even stronger collaborative voice for Asia Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment from the Secretariat. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the keynote address, and I would like to invite our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ram Mohan, Director, ICANN. He's also the Executive Vice President and Chief Technology Officer of Affiliates Limited. He oversees the key strategic management and technology choices for the company in support of the generic top-level domains, that's gtlds.info and .org, and also the sponsor domains like .mobi, .asia, .aero, and country code domains including .in and .me. He has led the strategic growth of the company in registry services and security, as well as new product sectors such as RFID, Auto ID, Global DNS, and internationalized domain names. Invite Mr. Ram Mohan for his keynote address.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor and a real pleasure to be here at this APrIGF meeting, and I'm really privileged to be here. I want to first off start by extending a very heartfelt gratitude and thanks to the organizers of this event. This is really quite a significant way to show to the world, to provide an example of how a bottom-up multi-stakeholder process actually works. You know, we are at a historic time in the development of the governance of the Internet. The Internet itself is quite a unique phenomenon, isn't it? It's probably the first of many systems in the world, but it's certainly the first system that is commonly accessible, commonly used by everybody around the world, but controlled and managed by no single government or no single organization in particular. That's remarkable as a way of building something that is collaborative, building a resource that is accessible, that allows for end-to-end access without having centralized control and centralized management. There is a uniqueness of this model. It's not just enough for that to be unique. You really have to look at what that has led to. That has led to innovation across the entire world. In this country itself, or in this region, we have seen just a proliferation not only of the Internet, but of entrepreneurship based upon the Internet, of the creation of new jobs, the expansion of knowledge, the access to information, all of these fundamental things that we take for granted, based upon a structure that is democratic, that is inclusive, that is open, that conforms to a set of principles that we today have come to agree as fundamental to the future of where the planet, where the world goes, but at the same time underscore that these principles that we take for granted today are not necessarily the principles that will endure unless we pay attention, unless we actually focus on helping build these foundations as unshakable parts of where the future of the internet is going. I'm on the board of ICANN, which is one of the many internet organizations that help bring this vibrant ecosystem together. One of the things that in ICANN that we look at all the time is where is the role of the various internet organizations as compared to the role of the communities that use and that access and that depend upon this unique global resource. The answer, which is quite interesting to see, the answer not just inside of ICANN, but in the other I-STAR organizations, the Internet Society, the regional internet registries, the various organizations, the IETF, all of these organizations that work on the internet, it's interesting to see a commonality in that particular area, which is that these organizations don't actually run, control, or manage these resources. They really are, at the foundation of it, stewards of this unique resource. Their primary job is to make sure that they reflect the needs and the wants of the communities that they serve. Each one of us who work in these organizations, whether we are in the role of trustees of the organization or the chief executives or the senior executives of these organizations, we are keenly aware that our role is not a role of controlling or even managing. Our role is one of stewardship, of listening quite carefully to what the community wants, of engaging with the entire community to understand from the grassroots level, from the bottom up part of this system, what are the needs for the development, for the growth, for the sustenance, and for the continued security, stability, and resiliency of this unique resource that we have all come to depend upon. At this regional IGF, as well as at other regional IGFs, numerous principles and numerous topics get discussed, and then they get reflected. They come up into the global IGF meetings that have been happening over time. It's interesting to observe the evolution of even the Internet Governance Forum itself. We have now moved, it seems to me, to a model that is really wonderful to see. The building of consensus-based opinions that begin at a local level, move to a national level, then get reflected at a regional level, and then get discussed at a global level, with one important component underneath them. It's not that what happens at the global level overrules what happens at any level prior to it. Each one of these has almost an equal role and an equal primacy to what they deliberate. And that, again, is quite a unique thing, because what you're seeing here is evidence of a completely distributed system that actually has begun to work and begun to provide an example of how internet governance could and should move forward. Now, it's not very surprising that, to me anyway, it's not very surprising that this model is starting to work. You know, I'm an engineer by training, and I've been working for many years steeped in a number of the principles that underlie the architecture of the internet itself. And if you look at the architecture of the internet, there are a few principles that underlie that. It's distributed, it's participatory, and it is layered. These are common things, common themes in how the Internet's architecture itself has been built. So it's quite heartening to see that the same kind of principles are starting to work effectively in the governance sphere as well. If you look at what remains to be done, certainly in the Asia-Pacific region, we have quite a lot of work that remains to be done when it comes to Internet governance. For one thing, we certainly have to continue to broaden the multi-stakeholder participation in understanding how to govern the Internet. Now, when we talk about multi-stakeholder, that includes various sectors that interact with each other. We're talking about the private sector, the governmental sector, civil society, the technical community, as well as academia. All of these have to continue to interact. We have a significant job ahead of us to broaden the participation from all of these stakeholders in the future of the Internet. The other component, particularly relevant in the Asia-Pacific region, is capacity building and capacity development. And in the past, it used to be that capacity building and capacity development was focused on infrastructure, was focused on technology, pieces like that. But we also now have a capacity building role that is necessary in governance functions as well, because there is some new learning to be done, and then expansion of that learning across the region. And as has been pointed out by the raconteurs earlier, one size does not fit all. There are local, national, regional differences, and really it is our job to listen carefully to what those differences are. And it's really not appropriate, in my opinion, to look for a homogeneous solution. Heterogeneity and diversity is actually a great strength in how the Internet works, and I believe is going to be a great strength in how the governance of the Internet also works. So the Internet governance mechanisms have to be strengthened. We have to learn which parts of these are working well, try and adopt them, adapt, and expand and embrace these mechanisms inside of the region that we are in. One of the other foundational things in how the Internet has been built so far, how the various components of the Internet have worked, is a strong reliance on the scientific method, on ensuring that the decisions that we make are based upon evidence, are based upon facts, that opinions can then be backed up by data, and if the data demonstrate that the opinions are going in the wrong direction, that those opinions and that direction gets modified. That's a really important thing, because what it allows is for the intersection of political points of view with the reality of what's truly feasible and what the data and what the evidence actually points to. Now that requires research, that requires analysis, but I think that is a really important thing that in this region we need to continue to do quite a lot of work on. That evidence-based, scientific method of moving forward is a really serious foundational step that we really ought to commit to. I would be remiss if I don't conclude my remarks in continuing to underscore a fundamental promise that ICANN has made and continues to make to the community. And certainly on behalf of ICANN, I'm absolutely pleased to make that to you, all of you here, which is an absolute, unshakable commitment to accountability, to be transparent in the way decisions are made, and to ensure that the voice of you, the community, is not only heard, but is reflected and will continue to guide and shape where that organization, ICANN itself, goes. At the same time, also to underscore that ICANN is but one of many, and that ICANN is committed to working with all of the various multi-stakeholder organizations that have a key role in the future of this wonderful resource that we call the Internet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramon, for sharing your views on the growth and the evolution of now Internet governance, as now Internet enters a new phase of growth and making an impact on people, making an impact on our societies and economies. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are talking about India-specific, the initiatives which have been taken by the Government of India towards more pronouncing the role and the penetration of Internet in the country. We had, in fact, Joint Secretary Dr. Ajay Kumar, who was there with us in the opening ceremony, and he shared with us some of the initiatives which have been taken by the Government of India. He mentioned about the NoFin project of the Government of India, which is going to be connecting 250,000 gram panchayats, and thus it is going to be taking these government services to the common man and to the people at the last mile and empowering them. He had also shared with us about the NKN project, which is a National Knowledge Network program, which is going to be connecting the R&Ds and various educational institutions. So joining us as the guest of honor, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Chief Architect of India's National Knowledge Network, and he also chairs the Technical Advisory Committee for the National Optical Fiber Network. That's the NoFin project which I spoke just now. That's Professor Raghavan. He's a very distinguished person, talented professional, and an active researcher, having more than 3 decades of rich experience in the field of teaching, research, and administration. He's currently serving as a Scientific Secretary, that's the rank of Secretary to the Government of India, in the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, and he's also Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. As the chairman of the Technical Advisory Committee, he shoulders the responsibility for design, implementation, and demonstration of the National Knowledge Network. And as the chairman of the NoFin project, Professor Raghavan looks at technology options and synergy across various government entities, which is going to be bridging the digital divide between, as we called, as between India and Bharat, and taking or bringing about inclusive health, inclusive education, and governance. So we now invite the views of Professor Raghavan.
Good evening, everybody. Dignitaries on the dais, delegates to this conference. It's a pleasure to share views about a subject close to your heart for decades with anybody who is interested in similar things. The 2 activities that she mentioned just now, the National Knowledge Network and the Optical Fiber Network, gave me an idea about how to deal with scale when you establish networks of networks. I was just rolling back my memory and then see where it all started. I belong to an age where there was no internet, there was no email. And in '85, when I established email facility in a modest way, with international connection around my laboratory. My next door neighbor came and asked, "What is all this about? Why are you wasting money? If you want to tell you something, I'll come and tell you." Very senior man. I didn't say anything. I said, "Sorry, sir, I won't waste any money." And I was waiting for an opportunity. I was very young at the time. Young people play pranks. So when he was collaborating with his German counterpart to run a conference, I switched off the server. Then he came rushing to my room. He said, "What happened? Why is the email not working?" I told him, "Sir, you only told me if you want to say something, you will go and tell the person what it is." So I switched off the server. He said, no, I didn't mean that." This is how the governance starts. Right? Then there is an institute level committee to find out whether Raghavan is doing the right thing or not. How can he switch off at his will? So young 30-year-old wants to have fun in life. There's nothing wrong about it. So long as you can swing your umbrella as much as you want when you walk down the road, so long as the tip of the umbrella doesn't touch the nose of the next person walking behind you. That's the governance principle. Then we started from there on, and things expanded. There was no concern about governance as such until about 95, I remember. About 10 years there was no concern. 95, people started talking about commercial use of the network, which is interconnecting people. Until such time it was a promotional exercise. For another 10 years there was no confusion at all, because it was still a promotional exercise. Human beings react when two things happen. One, when you are denied something. Two, when you have fear, you are afraid of something. Otherwise we don't react. So when IP4 ran out, I said, "Oh, how does it run out? I've been using it since yesterday. Till yesterday there's no problem. What happened?" So then we must do something about it. When somebody like Snowden says something, fear factor comes in. So if you look at the history for the last 30, 35 years, the denial started about 10 years ago, and the fear started about 2, 3 years ago. Then you look at the architecture of the internet. The nice thing about computer science is that everything that you do has to have a reference table, a registry. And this registry will always be hierarchical, because graph theory tells you in the very first class that that's the easiest way to traverse. So you go to the nearest point and resolve. But graph theory also tells you that if I don't want a subtree, I can get rid of it. Since the whole structure, which is naturally distributed as a growing tree, and naturally based on the principle of registry, going back to a single point somewhere or multiple single points, which are copies of each other, creates quote-unquote fear. Oh, I am in this part of the subtree. What will happen to me? So there are many things I hear in terms of words in English: governance, management, administration. But when it comes to internet, the person who administers confuses that with governance. The one who governs in the governance delegates the responsibility to the manager. So the confusion starts there. Then of course there are, even though it is a single large span across the whole world, you do have in your mind a psychological division called sovereign boundaries of nations. So you try to map back with those rules of the game called the constitutions of individual sovereign nations, the judicial framework of sovereign nations, and associated infrastructure which resolves disputes and disposes, and then try to see where the jurisdiction lies. A businessman always works on two principles. One is risk, other is liability. If the liability resting is clearly identified and quantified, he'll convert it to a risk and sell it to an insurance man who is waiting next door to buy it. He has no problem. But in internet, that liability resting becomes an issue, whether you look at it from a technological sense or from global sharing sense. If the liability resting becomes an issue, risk quantification also becomes an issue. Then you get fuzzy boundaries in what can be called as products that can be issued out. At the same time, because of the very nature of this internet, expansion is so seamless and so fast that you do one, you can do that 1,000,000 times. So that helps you grow faster. So everyone wants to access that market of whatever number of billion people on the earth. It becomes simple and easy. So this creates what is your marketplace, what is my marketplace definition issue. The fuzzy boundaries start. The technology by itself is extremely nice, simple, elegant, and I should also say beautiful. Because I have been looking at routers from MGX days to the current carrier routers. They are a phenomenal bunch of hardware and software, no matter who makes them. Great algorithms, absolute resilience to failure. If you invest enough, you can guarantee resilient operation. No issues. But when you do all that, and then you want to be in the enabler mode, so long as you enable, there is no issue. But the moment you say, I'm going to look at something, I'm going to stop and watch, issues start. That is where I think the concern comes about, that too in recent times. I'm very glad to see a lot of youngsters here because they define how the internet is being used today. In fact, anything new that comes up, it's only my younger son who comes and tells me what is new today. It's the best source. Go to the colleges, go to the schools, those people will tell you better than what you can learn by yourself. There's so many things to look up to understand. These youngsters have seen the world in a seamless form. So again, there's a philosophical conflict that comes up saying that there are boundaried world that exists in the physical world. There are boundaries, and there is a logical world where there are no boundaries. And these people are interested only in the logical world. Then it depends on who is talking about governance. What is that person's background? What does he want? What does she want? It depends on that as to how the articulation is made and what do you make out of it. So if we as a global society want to remain connected, want to remain a society which freely exchanges information, this is probably the perfect technology that allows you to do it. There is actually no need for governance because it appears to be self-governed. But at the same time, if there is an enabler, a legal entity sitting somewhere who is enabling you to do whatever you are doing as global sharing, then the human fear factor comes in. So if you want to do something about the internet governance, perhaps the place to start is your own enterprise, your own organization, your own immediate environment, where you make whatever rules of the game that you want clear and unambiguous. You might land up recreating some of the normal verbs that you are using. Like Google has become a verb, Facebook has become a verb, Twitter has become a verb. When technology matures, noun becomes a verb actually. In our language, you will be seeing over time, a noun is used as a verb. Wikipedia is also a verb today in spoken language, may not be in the dictionary. So when these things happen, one has to figure out how you handle it if the physical boundaries and the sovereignty is more important to you in a given context. So to me it appears that context sensitive ability to do context sensitive management and the pros and cons, the processes of doing it, and the understanding that enables you to do that nationally and internationally is perhaps the structure that one is looking for in governance as a whole. Internet can be used as a noun reference to the network, or internet can be an adjective to a technology that you use. It depends where you come from. Having said that, I would like to encourage you to continue your interactions and have these types of discussions on an ongoing basis. Perhaps create a page, perhaps continue your discussions and threads, and find out for yourself how to define your perception of governance and your requirement of governance from this huge open opportunistic space called internet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your views. In fact, he being the chief architect of internet in the country, his views definitely stands very significant. He has seen, as he mentioned, from internet being no entity and today being a powerful tool, from starting from being almost a disbelief or a distrust to now today becoming a necessity. And he raised certain concerns which are there towards surveillance or boundaries or seamless flow of data, and also expressing his views on the internet governance, how it should be shaping up, probably self-regulated or having a body which is more of an enabler. So thank you, sir, for guiding us. And now may I request Mr. Paul Wilson, the chair of the multi-stakeholder group, the chair of APrIGF, to share his views and the way forward for APrIGF.
Thank you, everyone. I've got a small role as chair of the multi-stakeholder steering group, and I don't do that alone by any means. So my first thought here is to thank the co-chairs who help who manage the MSG. That's Shahzad and YJ, neither of whom could be here, unfortunately. But also, in addition, the other members of the group who all meet on a regular basis, particularly often as we approach the event to make sure that things are on track. And so, without them, this event wouldn't be happening. But I'd also like to mention to everyone here that the multi-stakeholder steering group is always after energetic members and volunteers. So please, if you feel that you've got some time to spend on the occasional meeting to help to make this event a success, then please let me know, join the mailing list, and I'd extend that invitation in particular to the APrIGF participants here as well. I'd really love to see some of your faces on the mailing list and in future IGFs. The other thing that we would not, the other resource that we absolutely need and could not possibly work without is the Secretariat. So special thanks to Yanis in particular for supporting the MSG and the whole process and everything that's helped to bring us here today. So thanks, Yanis. This event is the 5th, and it's the most successful of the Asia-Pacific regional IGFs, according to most of the measures. It has had, to me, a higher value program than we've had in the past. Again, thanks very much to the MSG, but also to the people who came and worked hard to make the workshops, the events that happened here this week successful. You heard all about that in the reporting session earlier. And I think I'd like to remind you of something I mentioned at the opening, which is that this event doesn't stand alone. The event has had a lot of important and interesting discussions. The reporting back, which we heard this afternoon, was excellent and very interesting, particularly when you couldn't attend all of the sessions. But the reports that can go from those from this meeting, from the workshops, from the summaries, onwards and outwards are really important too. So we are going to be going from here to Istanbul, of course, in not too long from now. And so again, the reports of this meeting are really important to the global IGF event. The sorts of conversations that happen here will be reported. They can be reported by anyone, in fact, by anyone who happens to be there. They're reported formally through the reporting, and it's a really critical link in the whole IGF movement to be going from the regional to the global, back to the regional in the next cycle. And we also have national events as well, which are really part of this process. So that's really important, something definitely to bear in mind. The event here has had more participation than ever before, both in terms of registrations and also the youth IGF, which came together and which really impressed so many of us oldies who managed to go along and drop in from time to time. And I really do appreciate what's happened there. I'm very happy to hear Edmund's comments about bringing the events closer and closer together, because I don't see any particular reason to be partitioning ourselves so cleanly, but then again, I don't want to step into your space either, and I think you guys and girls need to decide how you want to do this, and please keep coming back. The venue here has been fantastic, really impressive. I think everything from hotel rooms to food to the meeting rooms and the facilities has been wonderful, and so thanks very much to ISPI in particular for that part of the preparations. It is a shame that people had to travel quite so long to get here, and I just wonder how many extras we would have had. But I'm sure that we had plenty of people who might not have been able to make it joining us online, which also, as you know, is an important part of the process. But thanks very much to ISPI for all of the efforts, to Natasha, to Rajesh, to all the ISPI people who are here. And I shouldn't forget either Nixie, who has had a quiet role in the background, but a very important supporting role in this event, and I know that it certainly wouldn't have been possible without Nixie, Dr. Govind, and his colleagues as well. So, can I ask for a round of applause, especially for Ispai and Nixie and everyone involved there? Now, I mentioned that this is the closing session, but this event really is not over. One of the reasons for, I think, having and supporting and coming back to these events is that from year to year there's a momentum that can be maintained, it can be developed, it can be deepened and advanced from here to other parts of the IGF movement, and by doing that we help to achieve the aim, which is to advance internet governance, internet coordination, the understanding of the internet by all stakeholders who rely on it. So it's not over today at all, and although some of us here, not even including myself, but in particular some of the people I've mentioned, will take a deserved rest, I think, immediately after this event, I would really urge you all to maintain the energy and maintain the momentum, because that momentum really is important to carry, as I said, from here to Istanbul and to other parts of the community. I'll put in a very quick plug for the fact that APNIC has got our 6-monthly regional meeting happening in just over a month from now, and we will be taking absolutely some of the lessons and the learnings and the outputs from this event into the APNIC meeting and sharing with the APNIC technical community in particular, but the broader APNIC community as well. We will have APTLD at that event. We will have the Asia Pacific Internet Exchange Point group. We will have the NIRs, Nixie and others joining us there. One of the very important things you've heard about a bit this week that we'll be examining there is the question of the announced transition of the IANA stewardship from the NTIA to the global community. So we will have a special session about that, and for those of you who are interested in following, you can do that via the APNIC website between now and the event. You can also join in. So I'm really I'm giving a shameless advertisement there for the APNIC event, but it really is part of a series of community engagements, consultations, opportunities for everyone here to be part of a movement, to learn, to improve your own skills, your own awareness, but also to help others to do the same thing. And that's going to be very important for years to come on the internet. I don't think this challenge is over, and it won't be until the internet really stops growing and changing. And we really don't want that to happen, or don't expect it to happen anytime soon. So we're all stuck with this process for a while. I hope we're enjoying it and gaining from it. I am, and I'm very glad to see, I think, that most of us here are as well. Okay, so finally, the other thing that's coming up in future, of course, is the next Asia Pacific regional IGF, and that is something that is decided by the multi-stakeholder steering group on the basis of a bidding process, and we will be reopening the bidding process for 2016 very soon. But 2015 will be the next event. It will be happening during July of next year, of 2015, on precise dates, I think, to be confirmed. But the host is the Macau NIC, MO-NIC, and of course the event will be in Macau. And that's going to be a very exciting event. So it's going to be an interesting place. It's going to be an interesting event. It's going to be, I think, in 10 months' time or so, very interesting time for all the reasons that I think we've heard about here. So I will leave it there. I think we're going to hear some more about Macau to get you all enthused about coming back in 10 months' time. Thank you again. It really has been a pleasure and an honour to play this role here, and it's all, the success is due to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. So a very clear mission already outlined for the next APrIGF, and the venue for discussions and deliberations, Macau. And as Mr. Wilson had mentioned that the momentum has already been built. It now needs not only to be maintained, but further pumped up and escalated, whatever we have discussed further to the global community. And that is where NICSI has supported this, and they further extend now their commitment to APrIGF. So I would like to invite Dr. Govind, the CEO of NICSI, and also for his thank you address. Okay, there is a movie first from Macau as we take you to introducing you to the venue of APrIGF 2015.
Everyone, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for having me here to participate the APrIGF in Doha, India. Today, I'm very pleased to and honored on behalf of HNet Asia Limited, the Forum of APrIGF and Macau, sincerely giving a warm welcome to everyone and to welcome you all to attend the Macau APrIGF in the coming 2015. Welcome to Macau, and Macau welcomes you. In fact, I'm looking forward to the day of APrIGF 2015 in Macau. This will be an unique and unforgettable experience for all. We will be having a deep interactions, nice exchange in ideas and discussions, and I am sure this will be a very different journey to all of you. We hope this could also need you all to experience Macau is really different. Hope to see you all in APrIGF 2015. Have a nice day. Hello everyone.
seems to be a very exciting place, and as we're talking about exciting times for internet, a lot of energy is to be driven in there. I think the place itself is going to be adding to the discussions. So now may I request Dr. Govind for his closing remarks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's had a good commercial break between the two, good speeches. Professor Raghavan, Scientific Secretary to the Government of India and the architect of NCAN and the optical fiber network, which is one of the biggest networks in the academic and the commercial side. Mr. Ram Mohan, Vice President, Affiliates and the Board Director, ICANN. Mr. Paul Wilson, DG, APNIC. Mr. Ko Vi Wu, Director, ICANN. Mr. Pong, Mr. Mustafa, Mr. Izumi, Mr. Naveen Tandon, Mr. BC Jain, Mr. Adam Peak, Mr. Rajneesh, Mr. Siva. I can see Mr. Satyan Gupta ji, on and on, Mr. Don Hollander. All, contribution towards this great APrIGF, which is the 5th, I believe, which has happened in India. We are halfway mark from the global IGF. I think the Istanbul will be the 10th IGF. And it is my great pleasure to stand before you and deliver the closing remarks for the successful closing ceremony of the APrIGF 2014 managed by SPI and NIXI. The event was for 4 days and can't believe that these 4 days have just passed. I really hope that the delegates coming from different parts of the world have experienced a good time and gained knowledge on a variety of issues pertaining to internet governance. Our event theme, Internet to Equinet, an equitable internet for the next billion, has well served the purpose by bringing the one step ahead, and we have set goals. The whole idea of having such events to create a platform to exchange views and have open discussion about policies and governance. Particularly this internet is a global medium, and nobody is untouched from this medium, whatever factors of life. It is affecting social, economic, political, commercial and every aspects. Particularly the youth, I would like to mention, particularly the young lady who spoke about her experience today, is really remarkable. The way they look at the internet and the way we look at the internet is quite different. The plethora of social media, the internet, Google, Facebook and all, and how these, one thing is to use it and another thing is to what is the underlying principles, the policies and all these things which are governing this internet. The first time that we have managed to have 3 major events together and many other workshops in conjunction with this event, SANOG, APrIGF, Youth IGF, APTLD and APLIP, under the one umbrella which was of great benefit to all. I remember Mr. Don Hollander calling me, I think 3 months before, that why can't we have a justice sector and the CCTLD conglomerate, when I think we met in Muscat in May. So there are many more opportunities, many more enthusiasm which we got in this APrIGF and the Youth IGF and APTLD forums, that this issue needs to be further elaborated, taken further. And we believe that the empowerment of the young and dynamic students and the country will develop a robust backbone of the country. We feel that the informed perspectives and participation from the youth will help further grow the open nature of the internet, diversity, the security and the access aspects of the internet and the critical internet resources, which are the 5 pillars of the internet governance, which is, I think, bothering the entire world, how we cope up with it, along with that the public policy issues. During the APrIGF, we had many of the workshops I had been to be privy to the 3 or 4 workshops where I personally participated. And I think today we are passing through a very critical phase of the internet, which is affecting its trust deficit because of this, some of the events which have happened. So really we have to see that how we can bring back the internet, the security, stability, the openness, the more robustness and the confidence level in the internet from the commercial point of view, from the trust point of view. And there we need to discuss more and more how we can make the wonderful infrastructure which has created 40 years back, how we can grow further, and particularly for the developing world where the next billion has to be taken over, for the internet has to come, and then the related developmental issues which we discussed, then the plenary today and the WVCs plus 10 review which is going to be happening next year. So where we stand today and where we have to go further for the next 10 years of the internet, future of the internet, which is going to be more, Asia Pacific and more cultural, more linguistic, more, dynamism from these countries' perspective, how we can, and the multilingual, more IDNs, more contents, localization. So how all these ecosystem is going to develop away from the internet of the last 10 years which we have seen. So next 10 years is going to be very, very challenging. A lot of opportunities in the internet which is going to help us, the youth and everyone, whether it's any multi-stakeholder, the business community, the civil society, the government, and we all have a more and more roles to play, more and more, whatever the Tunis, para 69 has said, equal footing for everyone, not just for the government on equal footing, but I say that it is for equal footing for all the stakeholders who are responsible for bringing up the internet and corresponding things. The future of internet is in our hands, and India's commitment to the multi-stakeholder model is evidenced by the .in domain registry and National Internet Address Registry, which are managed by that process. It is heartening to see that Asia Pacific region came together to commit to a future internet whose governance is based on the principles of openness, inclusivity, and accessibility. I also thank the .Asia, APrIGF Secretariat, the entire event management team, hotel staff, and our Nixie and SPICE staff for making the event very successful. Though we are quite away from the main Delhi, but I'm glad to see that the participation in many of the workshops and many of the events were quite substantial and quite thought-provoking, and interesting discussions took place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your opinion and remarks. And ladies and gentlemen, as we mentioned, the dynamism of internet is going to be definitely now increasing. And as Professor Raghavan had also mentioned, that youth are going to be playing now a more pronounced role, or need to play a more pronounced role, for the way they look at internet or the way they use internet is very different from as we do. So there were many suggestions which were invited, and here we would now like to first appreciate some of the best suggestions coming from them. We present them the certificate of appreciation, and as I invite these young minds and young thoughts here, first I would like to request Mr. Rajesh Sharia to kindly present the certificate, recognizing the suggestions coming from Prashant Shavan. Prashant, if you're here, please join us. Yeah. So they are the people who are going to be shaping the future architect, thanking them for their invaluable suggestions and views which they have expressed. And as we appreciate our second youth, I would like to request now Dr. Govind to kindly present the certificate. Anchal Dikshit. She was here, in fact, she presented a complete summary of what all throughout YIGF the views and the opinions which were expressed, thanking her for the contribution which she has made. May I request now Mr. Paul Wilson to now do the next honors, recognizing and appreciating Prabhat Bhargav. Okay, I think she's collecting on her behalf, on his behalf. And may I request Mr. Edmund Chung to kindly present the next certificate, appreciating Ankit Mohindra. So once again, thank you to all of you. And ladies and gentlemen, now in the closing, a big thank you note from the host of APrIGF, inviting the President of ISPI, Mr. Rajesh Halia.
Good evening, and thank you very much. Guest on the dais, our guest of honor, Professor S.B. Raghavan, Mr. Ram Mohan from ICANN, Dr. Govind, Nixie, co-host, Mr. Paul Wilson, DG APNIC, and Mr. Edmund Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, and the most powerful stakeholder emerged is the youth, especially from our country, and as well as came from the overseas at the NET mission ambassadors. I must show you, you can see a small glimpse of the event which has started from 1st of August, and day to day the gathering increased a lot, especially in today's workshop, today morning. I will say it was not crowded, it was overcrowded by the participation of the youth. A small When we first thought for the joint hosting of this grand event by bringing SANOG, APrIGF and YIGF together, we were thinking how it's possible, as one event is exclusively technical and another is on the policy and governance. But thanks to the organizing team for both the event for making it possible. A very small statistics in terms of attendance, total 474 including SANOG from 36 economy, 105 speakers including 20 remotely, except few could not attend due to some administrative issues. The most successful part of the event was the Youth Internet Governance Forum. We were surprised and felt proud in experiencing the enthusiasm among them, specifically session which I attended, Internet, Cybercrime, Security and Open Public Forum, in which they were so energetic, frank and fresh, which proved that they should also be involved in policy discussion on Internet as they are the users of the future. Looking towards this high spirit among them, we are proposing a new chapter, Indian Youth for IT, which will be managed and run by them only, of course, open for all. The proposed objective and the mission will be, the Indian Youth for IT will be an annual information technology event that is aimed primarily at university students, professionals, educators, IT experts, and enthusiasts. This will be an enabling event for today's youth and aspires to recognize young people as key drivers in the dynamic IT industry. Various relevant and exciting IT topics will be discussed by industry experts, and attendees are enjoined to present their short papers on unique concepts that aim to address topical social, political, economic, and civic issues using ICT tools. This will become the dynamic conduit that enables young people to voice out their concerns and present their solutions to pressing issues faced by society towards the Internet. The chapter is supported by IZOC. I will thanks to Rajneesh and Noel for suggesting such a great idea to bring in Indian youth at par with the international youths, whether in policy or technical. And the first event will be happening this year. I'm just producing IT for youth.
आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तले, आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तले।
Another event, online child and women abuse, thanks to Mustafa, in my opinion, is the biggest abuse on internet and on also a biggest hurdle in proliferation of the broadband in our country, especially into the rural side, due to the concern of parents about their children's exposure. We are proposing a conference in October this year on this subject with the support of international and national NGOs, schools, colleges, which includes the students, principal, professors and director, policymakers, law enforcement agencies, international and national, service provider to overcome this issue and make internet friendly and positive. Today morning workshop on it was not crowded but overcrowded. Success of any event depends on three pillars. One, you, the participants. Number two, the sponsors. And number three, the organizing team. We have got full support from the participants and speakers, whether present on site or remotely, as they turned out in large number and we are very cooperative. In case they have faced any problem during their stay, I feel sorry on behalf of my team. I must thanks to all the educational institutes for sending students and faculty for participation into the YIGF. Sponsors, Affiliates, Microsoft, Google, NSRC, IZOC, APNIC, ICANN, Cisco, Tata, Spectranet, Aircel, STPI, Department of IT, Maharashtra Government, and PCH, and many more. Supporting organizations like HHM, ECTO, CCAOI, APIA, Broadband India Forum, Shri N.K. Goyal of CMAI, TIMA, DSCI, APTLD, APILP. As always, special support and blessings by our DIT, who always supported us for this type of event. I am very much thankful to our co-host Nixie, who always supported us for hosting any event in past as well as in present and future. Special heartfelt thanks to Dr. Govind. Personally, he supported and suggested me a lot during organizing and planning. Due to his very valuable and matured ideas, this event is a great success. Thank you, Dr. Govind, for your elderly advice all the time. Now it's the time of organizing team. Without the team, you cannot run any event. Thanks to Bharat, Radhika, and Manoj with their team for getting involved from day to day and day one and supporting us. Thanks to the Crown Plaza Hotel. Every guest has appreciated about the hotel, the management and staff, especially to Grish Bindra, the GM and team for taking care of our participant and us. Thanks to Asia Secretariat, especially to admin, Yanis, and Net Mission ambassadors for planning and executing this event and YIGF. Thanks to SANOG, APrIGF Program Committee. APrIGF has come first time in India, while the SANOG we are doing from a very long time, and in future every alternate SANOG will be in India, and I am very happy to announce next year it will be again Mumbai. Thanks to Greater Noida Administration, Police for their best cooperation. Thanks to media for covering our events and attending the event. Now the internal team. Our internal team of Nixie board and Nixie colleagues like KB Narayanan, Shaili, Ajay, Rajiv, Shivani, Ruby, Nitin, and many more. Please don't mind if I am not mentioning all the names over here, but without your support, the event should not have got so success. Now the SPY and team. All members of the ISPI, as always, supported all the time, but I will be naming few of them for their best effort, like Mr. Brijesh Jain, Mr. Deepak Gupta, and Shyam. From SPY Secretariat, I must thanks to Niharika, Pramod, and Amarjeet. Natasha. Natasha is the name everybody knows about her. SPY Secretariat's key personnel who took this challenge. Yeah, Natasha. Who took this challenge since thinking, making of the RFP, planning, and left no stone unturned to make this event a great success. During this organizing of the event, she had got a lot of my anger. I'm sorry for that. Thanks, Natasha, for your patience and all your efforts. Yes, for organizing any event, we require a ringmaster. Of course, he is none but Pankaj Chaturvedi, our event chairman. In spite of a biggest personal tragedy, he has lost his mother during the organizing of this event. He was always with us, whether the personal or on phone, but taking care of his full responsibility. As usual, Pankaj, you are not here right now, but without you, we cannot think of any event, whether national or international. I will request all for a big standing applause to Pankaj and Natasha, because these two are our personal and very key personnel for doing this event. Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you once again and hope very soon we will meet in upcoming event which we have announced in October and which we will be doing Indian Youth for the IT before December 2014, and your presence encourages us for making the event more and more grand. Thank you once again. Now the time for fun, music, dance and gala dinner immediately in the same hall. So please request, don't leave and enjoy this evening and enjoy APrIGF, YIGF and SANOC.
Thank you, sir. So many congratulations to everyone. And you know, in India we say when an event comes to an end, we say actually the marriage has come to an end. It's a big task. So once again, congratulating everyone. And the organizers also wish to extend appreciation to all our young friends who are present with us, the youth who are present with us. There's a certificate of participation. We requested to kindly collect your certificate from the registration desk. That's for all the young minds and for who were present with in YIGF. Please collect your certificates at the registration counter.
I will request please stay in the hall in the honor of our country. Please.
Request you to please rise for the national anthem. Jai Hind.